and subscribe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man. I still can't go live.
Yeah, no, you can't. I couldn't go live for like, I think it was like 2 weeks.
They told me 30 days.
30 days?
Oh, listen. Why you had to jump, you Flip? I just want to talk to you. See, you doing this again. Come on, Flip. I want to Flip. You're playing with the hands and you yelling. Come on. Why you had them jump me? I didn't have nobody jump you. So why didn't touch me for? You touched me. You smacked my hand. All right, so what, man? Give me a hug, man. Come on, Flip. No. Come on. See, stop. Flip. Stop. Stop. Give me a hug. You jump me again.
Interview. This is really startling. Things took a drastic turn. So drastic that Mendeecees ended up in cuffs. Just when we thought Yandy Smith Harris and Mendeecees were having a tranquil vacation in Mexico. Yes, you heard correctly. Fans were shocked when what was meant to be a fun getaway with their fellow cast members devolved into a full-on fight. According to witnesses, tensions had been building for days, but no one anticipated they would explode the way they did. Mendeecees was seen laughing and grooving with the group 1 minute, and then chaos broke out. Before anyone could intervene, fists were flying as a furious conversation swiftly descended into a violent confrontation. The most startling aspect? Mendeecees was dragged away in handcuffs in front of Yandy as soon as local officials intervened. What caused this significant fallout? Which cast member was involved? Above all, what will happen to Mendeecees next? We have all the information, first-hand accounts, and never-before-seen details concerning this arrest, so stay tuned. Yandy Smith Harris, Mendeecees, and a few other cast members came for what was intended to be a much-needed vacation. Mexico's sun-drenched beaches, opulent resorts, and stunning ocean vistas set the ideal scene. The trip was supposed to be a combination of leisure and work, with plenty of downtime and some filming. Excited to see their favorite couple having fun away from turmoil and mayhem, fans had been keeping a close eye on them. Nobody anticipated, however, that this supposed vacation would quickly devolve into an explosive catastrophe that would result in Mendeecees being placed in handcuffs. Everything seemed to go smoothly at first. Yandy was seen enjoying cocktails with the women while relaxing by the pool. She looked stunning in a chic white summer outfit at the resort's private bar. Meanwhile, Mendeecees was joking and conversing with the men. For a while, it felt like they were all finally enjoying some quiet time together, with music playing and beverages flowing. However, the seeds of discord had already been sown, and tensions were brewing behind the scenes. According to witnesses, the first indications of trouble started earlier that afternoon when Mendeecees got into a furious argument with a certain cast member whose identity is still being kept a secret. Those who were close enough to hear the exchange described it as tense, even though it wasn't instantly explosive. Mendeecees' body language was stiff, and his voice was low, but he was clearly agitated. Yandy was even observed intervening at one point, placing a hand on Mendeecees' arm in an apparent attempt to soothe him. It didn't seem to help, though. According to insiders, the argument started when someone brought up Mendeecees' previous legal issues, always a sensitive topic for him. One source disclosed that Mendeecees took it personally. He thought it was a jab at his manhood, his development, and everything he had gone through, not just a jest. Even though there was no physical altercation during the initial argument, it was obvious that the matter had not been resolved. Later, Mendeecees was observed pacing the resort, muttering to himself and shaking his head, clearly attempting to ease his frustration. Then came supper. It was served at a posh, exclusive beachside restaurant with an outdoor dining area, perfect for a leisurely meal. On the surface, the cast seemed to be in a pleasant mood when they arrived. As drinks were poured and plates were arranged, Yandy and Mendeecees sat at one end of the long table while the rest of the cast dispersed, laughing and talking. However, the peace was deceptive. The tension that had been brewing all day finally erupted when the entrees were served. Mendeecees started with a simple back and forth, exchanging a few words with the same cast member he had disagreed with earlier. The subject? His past again. Encouraged by the drinks and the laid-back vibe, the cast member made another slick comment. Once a hustler, always a hustler. Mid-bite, Mendeecees scene, upscale beachside restaurant night. Mendeecees freezes, his jaw tightening as he carefully places his fork down. His eyes lock onto the cast member across the table. Mendeecees, low, controlled. What did you just say? A tense silence blankets the table. Yandy's gaze darts between the two men, sensing the rising tension. She gently places a hand on Mendeecees' forearm, her voice calm but urgent. Why, Yandy, why? Come on, let's not do this right now. But it's too late. The cast member, unfazed, leans back in his chair, a smirk creeping across his face. Cast member. Simply put, some people never really change. They just get better at hiding it. Mendeecees pushes his chair back, standing up. His voice drops to a dangerous whisper, calm but charged, like the silence before a storm. Mendeecees, you've got one more chance to disrespect me like that. The table collectively holds its breath. Security personnel stationed nearby take cautious steps forward, sensing imminent chaos. The cast member, instead of backing down, leans in with a mocking grin. Cast member, or what? You gonna take action? Show everyone who you really are. That was it. The final straw. Mendeecees lunges forward, flipping the table. Silverware clatters to the wooden deck. Glasses shatter. Plates crash to the floor. Screams erupt as chairs topple over. Guests scrambling away from the unfolding brawl. The cast member stumbles back into another table as Mendeecees' fist collides with his face. Recovering quickly, the man retaliates, landing a punch to Mendeecees' jaw. Yandy, screaming. Stop. Stop, Mendeecees. But it's already beyond control. The two men exchange furious blows, locked in a full-fledged fight. Restaurant employees panic, some calling security, others ducking behind the bar. Guests either flee or pull out their phones, capturing the mayhem on camera. Security rushes in, trying to intervene. Mendeecees shoves one officer aside, then grabs the cast member and throws him to the ground, landing another punch to his ribs. Bottles from a nearby bar cart crash to the floor. Glass shatters. More screams fill the night air. Finally, with the combined effort of multiple security guards, the two men are pried apart. Mendeecees stands there, breathing heavily, fists still clenched, his face twisted with rage. His opponent, blood trickling from a split lip, leans against an overturned chair, glaring back at him. The entire restaurant is in chaos. Staff whisper frantically. Bystanders continue filming. Cast members huddle around Yandy, who is sobbing, pleading for Mendeecees to stop before things spiral further out of control. But things are about to get worse. A sharp, piercing sound rips through the night. W-yellow, W-yellow, W-yellow. Flashing red and blue lights flood the restaurant's entrance. The sirens scream through the humid Mexican night, blending with the echoes of shattered glass and panicked voices. The energy shifts. What started as a tense dinner has now escalated into a full-blown legal disaster. For a brief moment, Yandy stands frozen, wide-eyed, her breath shallow as she watches the police cruisers approach. Panic sets in. Her heart pounds. This was supposed to be a peaceful getaway, a break from all the stress back home. Mendeecees stands nearby, fists still clenched, his chest rising and falling with each heavy breath. He wipes blood from the corner of his mouth, muttering curses under his breath. Across from him, the cast member he fought with leans against the wreckage of overturned furniture, holding his side, wincing in pain. Cast member, to Yandy urgent. Get him out of here. Yandy's eyes dart to the approaching officers. There's no time to think. A frightened whisper escaped Yandy's lips. However, she remained immobile, unable to think. She was struck hard by the truth of what had just transpired. This was serious. It wasn't just a minor altercation that would blow over. This wasn't the United States. This was Mexico. Here, the laws were different and the penalties could be far more severe. Mendeecees was now at serious risk of facing those consequences as the police closed in. Restaurant staff rushed to greet the first officer as he entered. The manager spoke rapidly in Spanish, gesturing wildly toward the shattered glass, overturned tables, and the two men at the center of the chaos, Mendeecees and the cast member. Yandy jolted out of her daze and hurried to Mendeecees. She grabbed his arm, her hands shaking as she whispered frantically, "We have to go. We can't stay here. The police." But Mendeecees wasn't listening. His focus remained locked on the cast member, who was still smirking as if he had won by letting things escalate this far. That smug expression only fueled Mendeecees' rage. His fists clenched, and despite everything, he took a step forward, ready to fight again. "Mendeecees, don't," Yandy pleaded, tugging at his arm. "Please, don't make this worse." Her voice was desperate, but he didn't seem to hear her. Before he could respond, multiple officers surrounded them, pointing at Mendeecees and barking orders. One of them raised a pair of handcuffs. Yandy instinctively stepped between them, hands raised in a defensive position. "Wait! Wait!" she cried, her voice trembling. "You don't understand. He was just protecting himself. He's not to blame." But her words had no effect. The officers had already made their decision. A translator stepped in, summarizing the situation. "They're arresting him for assault. If he doesn't come willingly, they'll use force." Yandy's heart sank. "Arrest? No. No, this can't be happening," she gasped, horror widening her eyes. She turned to Mendeecees. "Just comply, please. You can't fight them. We'll figure this out later." Mendeecees' body remained tense, as if he was still prepared to resist. But then he saw the terror in Yandy's eyes, the sheer panic on her face. Suddenly, his rage was overshadowed by something else, fear. Not for himself, but for what this could mean for his family, his future. His jaw tightened in frustration, but slowly, he lifted his hands in surrender. The officers wasted no time. They yanked his arms behind his back and snapped the handcuffs onto his wrists. Just like that, Mendeecees was no longer a man on vacation. He was a man under arrest in a foreign country. "No," Yandy screamed as she tried to push past the officers. Her cries echoed through the restaurant. "You can't take him. He didn't start this." But the officers ignored her. They pulled Mendeecees toward the exit, their grip firm. The rest of the cast stood frozen, unsure of what to do. Some whispered among themselves, shocked at how quickly things had spiraled out of control. Others pulled out their phones, recording every second of the unfolding. And now, they were at the mercy of an entirely different legal system. Yandy stood frozen on the sidewalk, tears streaming down her face as the police van disappeared into the night. She had no idea what was coming next or how she was going to fix this. Back inside the restaurant, the cast remained in stunned silence. As the staff began clearing the wreckage of shattered plates and broken furniture, guests slowly trickled out, murmuring about the chaos they had just witnessed. But for Yandy, this wasn't over. Not even close. She wiped her tears, inhaled shakily, and pulled out her phone. There was only one thing left to do: call a lawyer. "I'm getting you out of this, Mendeecees," she whispered as she dialed the number, her hands still trembling. "I'm not leaving Mexico without you." His body ached from the previous night, and he was exhausted, but his thoughts wouldn't let him sleep. Yandy stood with her arms folded, gazing out at the city lights through the glass. "We must exercise caution in how we respond to this," she stated in a tight tone. "They're waiting for us to make a mistake, you know?" Mendeecees rubbed his temples and groaned. "I understand, but what are you asking me to do? Keep my mouth shut and let them tell whatever tale they choose." Yandy cautioned, "We can't just react emotionally. That's what they want. The narrative must be within our control." At that moment, Yandy's phone buzzed. The call was from the show's producer. After a moment of hesitation, she answered, her tone agitated. The producer's voice came through the line. "Yandy, listen, we need to get ahead of this. The network is in a frenzy. This is turning into a bigger controversy than we anticipated." Yandy's eyes narrowed. "Bigger than you anticipated? So you expected something to happen?" There was a pause before the producer let out a nervous chuckle. "Drama makes for good television. But this is a little too real." Yandy's jaw tightened. She had a sickening suspicion that the producers knew exactly what they were doing when they fueled tensions between Mendeecees and the other cast member. Now that things had spiraled out of control, they were scrambling to fix the damage. The producer continued, "We want you and Mendeecees to do an exclusive interview. Give your version of events. Make it clear that this wasn't just some reckless act of violence." Yandy glanced at Mendeecees, who was watching her closely. "We'll think about it," she said before hanging up. Mendeecees shook his head. "Now they want to clean up their mess." Yandy murmured, "They don't care about cleaning up anything. They just don't want their ratings to drop." Even though she hated the idea of playing into their hands, she knew they couldn't stay silent. Mendeecees was already being judged in the court of public opinion. If they didn't take control of the narrative, someone else would. The couple agreed to the interview the next day. Their suite was transformed into a makeshift studio, complete with cameras and a well-known journalist brought in to ask the hard questions. Behind them, a screen played security footage of the altercation. The grainy video showed the cast member repeatedly pushing Mendeecees before he finally snapped. The reporter turned to him. "Tell us, what was going through your mind at that moment?" Mendeecees inhaled deeply. "To be honest, I was trying to walk away. I didn't come to Mexico for drama, but I could feel the situation escalating. I came to relax with my wife. But this guy kept pushing me, provoking me. And yes, I lost my temper. I'm not proud of that." The reporter nodded. "Some believe you were set up, that this was planned to boost ratings. What are your thoughts on that?" Before Mendeecees could answer, Yandy cut in. "Look, I won't pretend that reality TV isn't built on drama. But this wasn't scripted. This was real life. When people are under pressure and emotions run high, things can go wrong fast." The reporter leaned forward. "Do you regret what happened?" Mendeecees exhaled, briefly looking down before meeting the camera's gaze. "I regret letting someone get the best of me. I regret putting my family through this. But do I regret defending myself? No." Within hours, the interview went viral. Fans were divided. Some rallied behind Mendeecees, while others remained skeptical. But one thing was clear. The story had just taken another turn. Just when they thought things were starting to settle, another bombshell dropped. The cast member Mendeecees had fought with went live on Instagram. Sitting in his car, he stared directly into the camera. "Man, I was just joking around. I didn't think he'd actually attack me like that. And now I'm the villain? Come on, y'all don't know the full story." He then hinted at something deeper, something more personal behind the fight. "Let's just say some people don't like it when you find out their secrets." And just like that, the chaos continued. The drama continues. What are Mendeecees and Yandy hiding? The internet erupted once again as speculation spread like wildfire. What secrets was he talking about? Did Mendeecees and Yandy have more to the story than they were letting on? The blogs ran with it. Is Mendeecees hiding a dark secret? Did this fight expose something bigger? Yandy in tears over shocking new accusations. Yandy, anger boiling over, slammed her phone down. "This is getting out of control," she shouted. "He's twisting the truth to make himself the victim." Mendeecees shook his head. "Let him talk. He just wants attention. But what if people believe him?" Yandy pressed. "What if the network grabs onto this and turns it into something even bigger?" Mendeecees leaned back, arm